shot this film in 20 days. I think a couple of those days were like 18-hour days. Yeah. So 7 years. 7 years. Yeah. And where? Oh, here we go. Were you just stretching?
No, I have a question.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. I was like,
no, it's okay. So I thought the film was great, actually. It was really good, and obviously it's won so many awards. Like, what's the next step for such a phenomenal film like this? I mean, I think it was well put together. I get that you started off with several different scenes in a hospice. Like, what inspired the rest of the film, though? Like, what was it? You know, since it's written by you, what brought together the friends, or what? I guess the question I'm trying to say is, what inspires you to create such a wonderful project?
Really, the people that I work with. I had worked with the actress Molly Ryman before on my first film, and she kind of played the girl next door. I hadn't known her, and she was kind of typecast as that. And just from knowing her, she's a little crazy, but she's very talented, and she has a lot of range. And she's darkly funny, and there were things about her that I just was like, wow, you should really, and I wanted to give her something to stretch. So that was it. Nabil, actually, I had worked with Nabil before, and I was like, I want to give you something. I see you in Scrubs. I see you, consoling people. So it was really just, other than just finding those pages, and when I started writing it, honestly, I was just so burned out. I never thought I'd make another film. It was more of a cathartic exercise of just like, I'm gonna write and figure some stuff out. And then it just became this, and a chance to work with everybody again. Way in the back.
How is this compared to your first feature, or your first film? Like, the process, how would you compare them?
This was Vietnam, and the first film was Desert Storm. I learned a lot. The first time I did, I made my first film on 40 credit cards when I was 24 years old, and I had no idea that we'd finish it. I had no idea what it was going to be. From when we made this film, and my experience doing that, I learned everything I know about storytelling and filmmaking making my first film. So this film was kind of a chance for me to take what I learned and just push myself and make it better, stronger, faster. And this was maybe the hardest thing of my entire life. We shot this in 20 days for a very similar budget. We were under $200,000. I think I put myself on the spot for these guys just to make it something worth their time and really just give them something. So it was the hardest thing I've ever done. A lot harder because I knew more.
Where do you think it's going to go from here?
Heaven. Right now we're working on some distribution, so hopefully in a couple of months or this year you'll be able to see it online and everywhere else. So if you guys like this film, we need your support. We're an independent film. Any film you saw in this festival, support us. Be vocal. Facebook, Twitter, release pigeons. If you didn't like this film, please be quiet. Stay far away from things. Contemplate why you're sad and cold and dead inside, and then come back. So, way back.
Really amazing job, and the fact that you did it in 20 days, like floors, just floors. Did you have, prior to those production days where you were on set, did you have rehearsal time? Like, what was the prep like with the actors? Because it is really tight and
Yeah.
it's a really short schedule.
Sure. She wanted to know that with shooting in 20 days, the rehearsal process with the actors to get everything tight, because it's true when you're on set, especially 20 days and doing all that, you don't have the time. So for me, my rehearsal process is just kind of working with these guys, making sure they don't talk to each other while I'm answering a question. And just sort of, to me, like my rehearsal process, it's not so much running lines people memorize. I think everybody can memorize lines. It's where we get a chance to read through the script. I always do a table read. Then when we're raising the money, it's not so much blocking. It's just having them bring their concept and their ideas. And then when we get to set, we're all on the same page so we can explore. Maybe these guys should actually talk about what's my rehearsal process like. Yeah, shy actors, bullshit. Come on.
One, it was amazing working with David because he's very kind and he likes to listen or pretend that he listens to actors and make them feel like they're getting their stuff out. But no, the rehearsal process was pretty simple. We got together, we ran through, I think, a few scenes a few times. And then the rest of it was just kind of like going back and forth with notes and ideas. Does that explain?
Don't look at me like I'm not gonna hit you.
Does anyone else?
I can add something about that. Even for a small role like the one I played, David from the beginning stays in touch and is open for any questions and is open to dialogue about the character and the story. And even though we didn't do rehearsal, there was always communication. We knew what we were doing. Yeah, so when we're on set, we're in good hands, and we feel that.
Yeah, if you get a chance to work with David, work with him.
Can I ask a question, actually?
Yeah.
I had a question. I really like the actress in the wheelchair.
Grace Folsom. Grace Folsom.
For me, I think, every once in a while you see a film and there's this supporting role and it just captures your attention. You just remember that supporting role. And I just wanted to know maybe what did you do to help her with her preparation for someone who was handicapped?
I mean, I stayed out of her way for everything. She was so amazing. I mean,
What was her homework then? Do you know? Did she share that?
she did have this one really interesting thing where I think in the script it was written, originally before I cast Grace, when I'd first written this, I was trying to work with an actress I'd worked before who was really tall. And I wanted to kind of get rid of that as being a framing problem by putting in her wheelchair. So we got cancer we picked and everything like that. That's what, yeah, I never told this before. But it's all accurate. But when we decided that we were going to have somebody else, Grace read, and she was fresh out of NYU. This is the first thing she's done, and she was amazing in auditions. But her trick was, I think in the script, the other leg was the leg that was missing, and she just very cutely was like, would it be a big problem if I use the other leg? And I was like, sure, but it doesn't really matter. And she would sit on her leg that was missing when she was in the chair, and I don't know if that helped her, but it was like she kind of gave herself a phantom leg, and like the wheelchair, like she didn't really get in the wheelchair until she doesn't really like pop a wheelie in the movie. I think everybody's kind of wheeling her around or she's in bed. She did live in, I mean, she was in that bed or in the wheelchair for the entire movie. So I think that was difficult. She told me like on one day she wasn't working on set, she was like, I'm still sitting on my leg for some reason when I'm off. So I think that was her biggest prep for that.
As your films have increased in scale, what has been like the biggest challenge getting bigger and bigger and bigger that you've had to face, and how have you dealt with it?
Aaron's clothing budget and hair care products and things like that, just like it's awful. I think, I mean, both actually. The ironic thing is both of the films that I've done have actually been for the same budget, which is like around 160.
Versus your initial multi-credit card film that you did, like the first film. You said you used credit cards to do your
I made my first film on 40 credit cards back when you could.
Yeah, was that the same budget? That was smaller, right?
No, it was the exact same budget.
Oh, so that was 160,000.
Yeah, but on that
wow.
film we did 190 locations in 21 days, which I don't recommend. So that I think I learned that lesson is don't ever do that again. So for me, what I definitely learned that from the two processes and the budget wise, I think it's knowing how to compromise, get what you need. Like for instance, that church in the beginning, it was written that we needed a church, and when you don't have the money, you ask a lot of favors, you find all kinds of locations. That church was something that I couldn't compromise on. They had like a small chapel where we shot the funeral scene, and they're like, David, what if we use this for this? And I was like, look, we can't. This is really important. This is the opening of the film. It doesn't have to be massive. We just need I need pews. I need her to be able to walk through that stuff. And up until the last day was when we found that church. They didn't find it until the night before. I had no idea we could do it, but I won't compromise on this one thing. So I show up, I'm the first person coming to set, and they lead me into this bingo hall and turn on the lights, and I'm like, oh my God, now we have a bingo hall. It's not at all what I need. And then they took us out to the church and turned on the lights, and it was this massive, great church, which we found at the last minute only because we couldn't compromise. So sometimes you have to know when to compromise and when to really fight for something that's important.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys, for being here. It was
Thank
a
you, guys.
pleasure.
Thank you.